with those kind of tryouts, what kind of pressure did you feel?
The tryouts were for new players. They didn't really care about me.
Do you feel that moment stamped you to that coaching staff for your next few years?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because I do too.
They saw that and it was like, yeah, nah, she's just gonna be on JV until she hits junior year and then be on varsity. And then when they did want to give me a chance, I said, screw you, and I played for JV.
She ran right to the sideline to me and hugged me, and I'll never forget that. Right? I'm gonna get choked up about that here, but
oh, it was awesome. Everybody got to see how well I actually played too.
Any words of wisdom you give that youth athlete right now?
You feel uncomfortable, it's just not for you, and you got to find your own way. Because I did, and I don't regret finding my team that I got to play for, because I have friendships that'll last a lifetime and people that feel like second parents to me for a long, long time.
Welcome in everybody to this week's edition of Fighting for Overtime. Make sure you're following for Fighting for Overtime on all social platforms. I'm your host, Coach Tony, and I'm joined. This is going to be very interesting because who knows where this is going to go, right? I'm joined none other than my beautiful daughter, Taylor Cutillo, who I coached for, 10 years, 15 years?
Yeah, 10 probably. Yeah.
Mainly softball.
Yeah.
Right? But we did go through a lot of different trials and tribulations at different organizations. And what this episode is going to be about is some things I may not know, what Taylor went through, because she did go through a lot. And it's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, because I think, Taylor, there's other girls and boys like you at 12, 13, 14, feeling that pressure, right?
Yeah.
Feeling that emotional disconnect. And I think hearing from a former athlete like yourself, who had a dad's coach, who also was coached by many other individuals, different organizations, will help them through what they're going through right now. So let's just go way back, right? Right. You know, we city people, right?
Yeah.
We grew up in Northeast Philadelphia. We played for Calvary, right?
Yeah.
Did you know you wanted to play softball then?
I don't even really know. I was playing basketball, and I kind of knew I wasn't going to be good at that. So, I was the tallest girl out of everybody because I hit my growth spurt super early, and I played center, and then they tried me at point guard, and that just wasn't happening because I can't shoot the ball. So I just started picking up another sport, and then kind of started playing once, and I played with a couple girls I actually cheered with at the time.
That's right.
I enjoyed it. Then we moved.
And then it was, what do we do? Right?
Yeah.
We moved, and on a whim, I took a shot. It was like, Taylor, you want to play softball? There's this Southampton club, right? It was intramural. We weren't looking at nothing crazy, right?
Yeah.
And come to find out, nobody knew who you were.
Yeah.
So all the coaches go to pick their players, and which I still think is ridiculous that they have a draft at 10 years old. We'll get into that another time. But they were like, who is this girl? And Coach Rich says, I don't know. I'll take her. Right.
Yeah.
And the rest is kind of history. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm thankful for that because if Coach Rich didn't take me, I wouldn't have my best friend. So
that right. And what's, and we're going to get into that because best friends got separated. Right.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be emotional. You might see me crack a couple tears, might see Taylor crack a couple tears. You might hear her kind of crack her voice a little bit because this is emotional, because what happens is when you share these experiences and you come up, it's really life-changing. It really is. And then sometimes you look back and it's like, wow, like it opens up some old wounds. And I'm going to be honest with you, sometimes when we do these things, it does open up old wounds, right? But go back to that, right? You know, what a great experience. We're not going to go step by step because this will be on for 4 hours, right? So I want to kind of get into the way you were feeling. So here's a girl from the city, knows nobody. Coach Rich, Coach Ken at that time take us both in, right? Me as a coach, you was a girl who nobody knew, starting a new school, was 5th grade.
Yeah.
Right. So you go to a school, you don't know anybody, you don't know nothing. The first person you meet is Kate and Coach Rich, and you go through this intramural rec league, which I really think was super special, right? You made a lot of friendships from that.
Oh yeah, tons. I mean, even when I did softball, I met Kate, Kayla, Paige, Gina, all those people. Then I did cheerleading. And then Gina and Paige were on that team, so I had 2 friends already starting with that. But Coach Rich, honestly, like, he probably made it the best, him and Kayla's dad, Coach Ken.
Like they did. They made it a fun environment, right? And
Yeah.
that's why coaches mean so much, right? So let's fast forward a little bit because we had some tremendous times. And when you're a coach, when you're a dad, like I remember so many defining moments. Let me ask you this. If I had to put you on a spot right now, right? And I said, Taylor, one of your favorite moments just in when you played for Southampton and you were just on that intramural team where we did the mid-season tournaments, the end of season tournaments, right? We had the different colored jerseys. We had what was one of your favorite moments that you remember?
Probably I hit a grand slam with a line drive and it just kept rolling and rolling and rolling in the outfield. Nobody can get to it. And I'm the slowest person on that team.
Heels.
Probably. I can't run. I'm flat footed. I don't run on the balls. My feet look like a duck. Shout out to my friend Nikki's mom for giving me that name. She called me her little duck when I would run the bases. But yeah, that was probably my favorite moment. That was the only home run I ever hit. I got kind of cheated out of a couple that I've hit in the past, but
I remember
that was the only real true one that I hit, and it was Grand Slam. So I guess I could count it as 4.
How about and I remember that too because I missed the actual hit.
Yeah.
Because I was rushing from work. I was a shift worker at that time. What shout out to my morning dog who let me out early. I got there just as you were crossing. Like it was like the end of the play, right? I didn't see the hit, but you were so elated. You were so happy. You did get cheated because I remember deep run.
Yeah.
Where you smoked and of course they had a home run fence that was higher than the original.
Yep.
What a went,
they
right?
changed it like that year. And then at Welsh, I hit another one.
Yep.
And at the top of the fence, if anybody's familiar with that field, it's a black fence and it's got a yellow hose type dark thick thing on the top. And they had just put that there like 2 years later. And I go and hit the ball and it hits the top of the yellow thing and it bounces right into the girl's glove.
You had some bad luck.
Yeah,
you
I
did. But you were a masher. And this is why it's a great segue into what happens next, right? Fast forward. Coach Rich starts a travel club, the Blazers, which we had such a great time and a lot of great memories that we could get into another time. But that lasted for what? 2 years?
Yeah, probably 2.
Yeah,
and I started playing fall ball in Levittown.
Right. We started playing, but before that, I want to get into a specific situation scenario. And again, it's the Fighting for Overtime podcast. Make sure you follow at Fighting for Overtime, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast from. So Coach Rich, who your best friend, his daughter, Kate, decides, and he came to me, okay? And he said, Tony, listen, I'm kind of in a world's end here, basically. He said, love this team. I love everything about it. But I don't think it's sustainable. And he was being honest, right? He was and he confided in me and said his daughter, Kate, who we love Kate to death, said, listen, I love Kate. And if she's going to get opportunities, I feel like it's going to be for her athleticism. And I think she needs to go to a different program. So tough decision, right? And I'll be honest with you. And I hope to get Rich on here one day. We've already talked about it. And he wrestled with this for weeks. And he decided to take an open tryout with the Horsham Banshees, who I'm not a big fan of, full transparency. And we'll get into it another time. But he called me and said, hey, Taylor, at that time, right? You were the best hitter on our team, power hitter. You were raw. You needed work, like the lunge. Okay, right? We remember that. But you needed work. You knew you needed work. But he knew, he's like, you know what? Maybe this could be the spot for her to get the extra training. I didn't know any of the extracurriculars at the time. Neither did you. And a lot of things happened. Let me just ask you and look at the camera for me for a second. Let's think about this, right? I want your full emotion on this. You had a couple tryouts that didn't go great.
Right.
Number one, with those kind of tryouts, what kind of pressure did you feel when you were there? Like honest, like unfiltered pressure. What did it feel like?
I went and all these girls were playing together for like, I don't know, since they were like 8. and I was probably like, what, 13, 14? So I was like, okay, they all been together for 6 years. And the coaches didn't really like, the tryouts were for new players, but they didn't even really care. Like, I think because now me and Kate have like the same personality, we're outgoing, but like Kate was just different when it came to that stuff. And I don't know, she got along with the girls. Kate was the type of girl that had like Uvu and would like FaceTime all these random people, and she would meet all these people through. That's how I met most of our friends, but she knew some of them before we even got there. So I was like, okay. And it made me a little uncomfortable because I'm like, now I'm coming from somewhere that I did know everybody. Now I know nobody again besides my best friend. And she had already known people. So they kind of developed like a friendship and kind of excluded me a little bit. And the coaches were just kind of they didn't really care about me. Like they knew that their girls knew Kate and that's who they wanted. And that's not a shot at her. Good for her.
Let me ask you this. Let me cut you off because I want to ask this question. Did it feel like almost they were taking you as a tryout as a charity case?
Yeah.
And that's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, it was basically like, yeah, you can bring your friend along, but we're not going to take her anyway. So, I mean, doesn't really matter how she does, good or bad.
And I don't think Coach Ritz knew that.
No.
I don't put that on him. I think he legitimately, because he was hyped up about it, right?
Yeah.
Let's, so you felt pressure. You didn't have a great tryout, even though we know you were a better player.
Yeah.
Right? Than what you showed. Because listen, you were 12, 13 years old. Like, there's a lot of pressure, man. Like, people don't understand that, right? You go with this club and it's all these people that you don't know, and the coaches don't really make it an inviting atmosphere, right?
Right.
And then you guest play at a tournament. Now, I told this story myself, but I want to get your own view on it. And I remember this. It was a tournament. They had you guest play. They put you in the outfield. And you misjudged the ball.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Which, like, I think that was, I was only playing outfield for, like, a little bit.
Because you were third base, first base.
Yeah.
Before you even got to the catcher realm.
Yeah. I played first, third, and then it was like, all right, everybody knew I wasn't fast. So it was like, I was not going to play center field. I could play right or left. They put me in right field, which usually if I did go in the outfield, I played left. So this was a completely different perspective for me. And girl hits a line drive, and I couldn't tell if it was going further back. And they teach you all the time, first step's always back. So my first step's back, misjudged it. It was a lot lighter than what we had expected. And I missed a ball, which, I mean, MLB players do that to this day. So I don't know why parents on the sideline are getting on a 12-year-old for missing a ball. Like, this is routine. Why is she even playing for us? And it's just like, wow, like, I'm a 12-year-old girl. You're like a 40-year-old dude. Like, what do you get your priorities in check, man? Maybe, like, I don't know. Like, it was just, I just felt so, I don't know. You like feel bad. You're like, well, sorry. Like,
right. And at that moment, because I know I felt it, I was on the sideline, and that's, and again, this is unscripted, right? Me and Taylor did not train this conversation before we had it. And I told the story, so it shows the bond that me and her have because we've felt the same. I felt it, but at that moment, I just gonna ask yes or no question: did you even feel like, even if they said to you, you know what, we want you to part of the team, would you accepted it?
No.
And I would have been absolutely behind you. No way, because that wasn't the environment that you wanted to play in. Okay, so the tough part was, that was going to be Kate's environment now. And at that time, listen, and this speaks to a lot of kids that are out there, a lot of parents. Now you feel lost because you say to yourself, what do I do now? Like, I had this team, and soon as Kate accepted, Rich was very forthright with everybody. It was an off season. So it wasn't like a coach said, middle of the season, we're done. He was very authentic about it. He was very forthright about it. But you start to see players go other areas. We had Rachel, who was our great pitcher, goes to Abington Angels. And then we start to see people and we're like, where are we going to go? Because we knew what's a lot of people are dealing with right now is we didn't want to be a high elite travel club, right?
Yeah.
But we wanted to be competitive, but have fun. So what happened was when we would do the mid-season tournaments, we played local organizations. And one of those organizations was Warminster. And at that time, before we had some personal differences, it was Frank, and it was Coach Frank and Coach Nick and Coach Bob, who, rest in peace, Bob, who unfortunately passed away in an unfortunate accident a year ago. And right away, they came to me and were like, we're thinking about developing a travel club that's low ball travel, right? To have fun. But there was this suburban travel league that a lot of people created, and shout out to them. It started in Morrisville, and it was great. It was Friday nights, right? I think it was Friday and Sundays, right? We didn't play Saturdays.
Yeah.
And, they made it an environment where you didn't have these overzealous, power hungry parents. It was all about kids who wanted the travel experience, but they didn't want to go double travel, right? So thinking about that, how did that experience for you when I was like, Taylor, and they brought me along too, was like, they wanted me to be assistant coach, was like, we have this team. We're thinking about, how did that make you feel?
It was good. It felt good to have girls that also were like me, that wanted to play sports, but they actually cared about school. So that wasn't like their end all be all, because, a lot of us did want to go to school for things. But I felt comfortable. I was with people that were more my speed. So
and I think I and again, you're gonna hear Taylor getting choked up, and whether this is on, this is gonna be on video and on audio. And let me just ask you, because I feel like your emotions right now are mixed. I feel like they're the elation a little bit because they're memories, and like, I'm 25 now, and it sucks. Like, I want to go back to being 14, but at the same time, now you're thinking back on that, and you're thinking about the good memories and the bad memories, and
right.
And that's why this is going to be a choked up interview, right? So fast forward this club, who it was a lot of girls, because if you live in Southampton, you live in Warminster, you normally go to Tenet if you don't go to a Catholic school like Villa or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of you girls not only went to school together and played together, but you got to hang out on the weekends together, and it was a really cool environment. Coach Nick, one of the nicest guys I've ever met. I think you can attest to that.
Yeah.
But a lot of it really just hit home to me about what the experience should be. There wasn't, I got in your ass a lot, because we're going to get to that, but it wasn't like my week is consumed now with softball. I was able to be a kid. I was able to focus on schoolwork, but I also had a competitive atmosphere to play in, right?
Right.
So thinking about that Warminster team, and because again, you've played for multiple organizations. Like, speaking of that team, what would you say, whether it be favorite moments or anything that really stood out besides friends on the team or the coaches, like any specific moments or games or any negative aspirations that you dealt with through that time?
I think one of the best things, especially coming back from the experience of the parents on the Banshees when I went, the parents on there were just great.
They were.
They
good tears. These are good tears.
Yeah.
These are good tears. It's all good. It's all good. Take a minute. It's all good. Told you this was going to be an emotional interview. This is what happens, man.
I didn't expect this, though.
Well, you don't know. You don't know what's going to come out. And I think this is great for people to understand how real this is. The emotions. And think about it. If you're a parent right now, or if you're a child watching, like, think about the emotions, the raw emotions that you're dealing with right now, that maybe you don't even know your kid's dealing with, right? And maybe the kid doesn't even know they're dealing with until it actually happens 10 years down the road. We're reliving it right now.
Yeah.
But I bet you, let me help you out, because I think what you really are talking about is what I felt. Like, I remember Nikki's mom, and I remember Frank's dad, Cassie's grandpa, like people that actually, like, I'm getting choked up now, but people that actually cared.
Yeah.
And wow, man, look, see, that's even getting that way. But people that cared, and because it came from an atmosphere of such toxicity,
Yeah.
and to be accepted for just Taylor and Tony and not anything else. I mean, it was one of the best experiences I've ever had.
Oh yeah. And then, losing your because Kate and I mean, we're best friends to this day. I mean, her and her boyfriend just came to my house warming and hung out with me and my boyfriend, and we were talking and everything, and me and her have talked about before, like, not being friends for, like, I don't know, 3 years just because of softball. So it sucked. I mean, going on that team, and I was able to meet people like Nikki and Cassidy and Maddie and Devin and all those people. And then my friend Kayla came with me. So it was like, not only did I already know somebody, but there was other girls that were in the same boat. Like, they cared about all the same things as we did. And my parents were able to sit on the sidelines, especially my mom, and make friends with all those people because they weren't snotty or all they cared about was the sport that their daughter played. Like, they actually cared about their whole future and how comfortable their kid was playing. So
It was
it
great.
was a good experience. For
But you
sure.
know, the one thing I want everybody to understand that you just touched on, which I think is one of the most important parts of why we started this podcast and this community that I want to grow it into, is 3 years. You just said
Yeah.
disconnected from your best friend for 3 years,
All because of softball.
all because of softball.
Yeah.
So parents out there, think about that. Like we talk about this, like you're pulling your kid in so many different directions because you want that scholarship, and I want to be one of those 1%ers that play in Division 1, and you're actually at 13, 14 ripping apart your child's childhood, basically, right? And their friendship, all because of that. Now, I'm not saying that it was dumb because of that. I'm just saying it's a decision that you really have to make. And the reason why I want to put this away for a second, because this is going to come back, is you're going to understand why was it all worth it for those specific people, because it all came back and it didn't work out that way anyway, and it came back to something else, right? So this Warminster team, fantastic. It was exactly what we needed at that time. And we bring the William Tennant experience up. And listen, I got no skin in the game right now, right? Like Taylor, I want you to say whatever you feel when I ask you some of these questions. There are some good things out of this too, but I feel in high school sports that it's a popularity contest. It's all personal bias. And I've mentioned this before. You should not be allowed to be a coach in a high school environment if you are deeply involved in the community in which these girls or boys play. Perfect point, I will tell you, is because Taylor did not go to the Warminster side of school. Taylor was a Southampton kid. The coach and the staff knew the Warminster girls because he grew up with the Warminster girls and he watched them play. So it brings in an environment right away to where you already feel behind the 8 ball, because when you go to these tryouts, guess what? If you have a bad tryout, it matters. But if player A has a bad tryout that's played for that coach, it doesn't matter, because he's going, you know what? I know she's good. I know he's good. I've watched her play. But they can't say that about Taylor because never watched Taylor play. And I think you personally, number one, got completely screwed when it came to that, because, yes, were you the best player? No. However, you had the best arm. Okay. You started to really acquire a deep catching skill. Right. And no disrespect. Listen, one of the girls who was a catcher was highly talented. Right. We knew that. And that was the whole point of me saying, Taylor, learn how to play other positions, because you may be blocked at one position, but it'll give you the opportunity. So you were able to play outfield. You were able to play center field, first base, third base, catcher, right? You had those opportunities. But when you first went out, whether it be freshman year, what did it feel like during those tryouts?
I mean, freshman year felt okay because I didn't really know what I was going into. It was my first year, so I I didn't know who the coaches were or anything. So I made JV with now for Tenet at the time they had a freshman team, a JV team, and a varsity team. So me and all the girls that were my friends, we made JV. And the coaches on there, they were great. But it was kind of weird because during tryouts, everybody's there and the varsity coach had known like who a couple of the people were and I didn't even know how. I think I remember it was me and my friend Kayla. We were like the only two that were strictly from Southampton
Yep.
besides Kate. Now Kate played for Banshees, so that's a highly known organization where you will know the girls on that team whether they live in Southampton, Warminster, Northampton, wherever.
It's all about that circle.
Yeah, so we played and then the varsity coach had brought me, Kate, Kayla, and one other girl at the time. I feel like it was my friend Rachel, but I could be wrong. Up to varsity to play in some kind of here's my problem with this. They brought us to play up in playoffs. Why you would want to test somebody in JV and playoffs when you actually want to win as a varsity coach is my confusion because you're trying to test the water of to see how the girl's going to do on the varsity team. That's not the time to do it. I don't care if you're a 100% perfect player. It's not the time to try your JV out. I remember I didn't have a good at bat that game. I struck out. Now I'm facing a senior pitcher. I'm 14 years old. This girl's 18 throwing heat. I mean, I've never seen anything like that before. I don't understand why everybody was so shocked at how I struck out because the two other girls did too. The one hit a ground ball, so it was like but for some reason, it was like why I did that was the worst. Uh, for I don't know why. I don't know why it was just all. I don't know if it's because I was Kate's best friend. They expected better. I really don't know. And then I got put in the outfield. It was raining. Grass was slippery. I went to go catch a line drive. My foot slipped. And I missed the ball because I was falling. Um, Seeing other girls on the other team do it too. I mean, it was just a hard game. Like it was my first time playing with all these girls that were 3-4 years older than me and I had pressure to do well and it was like I was almost set up for failure. When at the time some of the varsity girls that were on there my friends knew or have played with for at least a year, so they kind of knew their dynamic. I mean, or it was the fourth girl was Cassidy. Cassidy played with Marissa,
Yep.
so she knew how she was. They knew how to play together. They had a dynamic.
They already had and it's not. Listen, I want to make this statement. It's not about the girls.
Yeah, it's not.
We're just making a point that they did indirectly, which they didn't realize, right?
Right.
That they had one leg up because of that fact. Correct.
Yeah.
So do you feel, because I want to fast forward this a little bit, but do you feel that moment kind of stamped you to that coaching staff for your next few years?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because I do too.
They saw that and it was like, yeah, nah, she's just gonna be on JV until she hits junior year and then be on varsity, and which I think is kind of crap, but whatever. I didn't respect them anyway as a coach. I didn't want to play for them. I specifically elected to play for JV for my junior year because I
Yes.
despised
Think
the
about
varsity coaches so much, especially the one girl. I I worked so hard catching, and I threw my best friend out from my knees, and she is the fastest person on any team that I've seen. So, and shout out to her dad because
Yes.
he taught me how to do that. He
And
put
you were,
me in,
yes.
yeah.
Go ahead,
He
I'm
put
sorry.
he put me in the batting cage and have the pitching machine throw balls to me,
Man.
so I would learn how to catch correctly. And seeing girls that were catching over me that couldn't have cared less if they, now let me make something clear. When you're playing sports in high school, school is always first. You cannot have your sport comfort. You can't play if you don't pass. And these coaches, that was like all they cared about was sports, sports, sports. Well, good luck having the girl play if she can't pass the class because it's not happening. And I remember there was girls that would go, they didn't feel like going to practice, they didn't feel like doing this or that, but they're playing over people that actually care and they want to play. And the skill levels are completely different. But if you were a part of that clique, if you talked to the coach enough, if you kissed their butts enough, it was, you got whatever you wanted. And it was pretty unfortunate. And I'll never say I'm the best player. I'm not. But at the time, I was probably the best catcher that team could have had, and they decided not to play me. And then when they did want to give me a chance, I said, screw you, and I played for JV. And then I didn't play my senior year because it was like, you don't even deserve my effort and time. And I was playing for the Hawks, so I didn't care.
So that was totally a Jigsaw moment, which I love. You like Jigsaw Jr. And that's what people would call me, my radio names for those just tuning in. But listen, Taylor, I couldn't agree with you more. And everything you just said is what I echoed for many, many years. And let's talk about this, because again, we may have to do part 2 of this interview because there's so much to talk about, and you've been fantastic. And this is what I love to talk about. You specifically said you decided, and I want to get into this, so I'm glad you brought it up. You decided your junior year to say, I'm not playing. I'd rather go play in junior varsity, JV, because I want to play. I want an opportunity. I don't care about the competition, and I don't care. I'm not trying to go say I want to go to a Division I school and get a school. I don't even know if I want to play in college. You said I just want to play. I want to have fun. I want to be. You like the coach better, because let's face it, the senior coach at that time, before he left, was a drunk guy who sat at the bar. Who knew all the bar people. I think he was a complete asshole. I have no problem saying that to his face. We went up to school, at a time where I had an issue, because let me throw this out there for everybody. The principal at that time, Mr. Best, Dennis Best at that time, specifically called me on the phone, because I had an issue with something, and I'm not really going to go deep into it now, but I had an issue with the athletic director and the coach, and it was because Taylor at that time, I got to give her a shout out, not because she's my daughter, but because she worked her ass off. She was working 25, 30 hours a week at Chick-fil-A, trying to be a manager, assistant manager at that time. Why in National Honor Society, getting straight A's, and she was trying to juggle a softball schedule, and she was getting reprimanded because she had to miss a practice while she was trying to get covered because she had to go to work. So I say that because this principal at the time called me personally, and you know what he said to me? He said, Mr. Cutillo, I really apologize that you have to force your child out to work to help support your family. This is what this principal said. Like, I was forcing my kid to work 20 hours. Like, number one, who the hell are you? Number one, that was not the case. But number two, to think that I'm sending my kid out, that was his response to me. It wasn't, no, his response was, I apologize for you having to send your kid to the workforce to help provide for your family. Talk about disconnected. That's how disconnected it was. So I wanted to throw that out there. But Taylor, that decision, you look back at it now to say, screw senior year. You forego your senior year. You didn't play your senior year.
I didn't even try out. I said whatever.
You were done.
Yeah.
But your junior year, for saying, I don't want to play on varsity, I'm going to go back to JV, or I'd rather go back to JV and play. How did that feel?
Felt good. I got to play with people I actually liked and cared about, and didn't just care about the sport. We were just there to have fun. And I got to play the position I wanted to, because that's the position I was good at. Not saying I couldn't play any other positions, but I got scouted out by my travel team for playing that position and third base.
That catching.
Yeah. And that's how I ended up playing for the Hawks. Like, I got scouted out by playing on Warminster by my coach, just by playing them. And we had the worst rivalry between teams. Warminster Warriors and Northampton Hawks had the worst rivalry because everybody hated that coach. Coach Frank was one of the best coaches I've ever had.
And we're going to get into that, because that's a very funny story. I just want to bring out one moment before we go to the Hawks, and we kind of get those experiences. But center field. So just so everybody knows, and Taylor know where I go, because this is an emotional moment for me. But Taylor played many different positions. I remember specific moments in Taylor's upbringing in softball and all sports, but specifically softball because I was deeply involved. I remember a specific play back with Southampton to where we were in an end of the year tournament. We were playing for the championship. We were playing the pink team in Northampton. We hated them. They hated us. And Taylor ended the game on a chopper to third base where she got the ball. She tugged third base and she gunned the girl out at first. Bang, bang, double play. We won. That's a defining moment to me. But one of the most, defining moments to me was JV playing center field. And listen, parents, give up everything to go watch your kid play. I'm telling you that right now, because I'll take this to the grave. Taylor in center field, she gets a ball, she comes in, she dives, gets up, and guns a girl out for a double play at first base on a line, on a rope. And the best part about it was not only was she extremely happy, most kids go run to the bench. No, she ran right to the sideline to me and hugged me. And I'll never forget that. Right? Hallelujah. Like, I'm going to get choked up about that here, but like that moment to me is what being a parent of an athlete is all about. That moment to me just that symbolizes everything that me and you worked for. 8 years old, 9 years old, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Taylor, you got to throw the ball the right way. Taylor, let's go out and your wrist movements. And how can we do it? Me and you, and that was huge. I mean, that moment, what did that mean to you?
Oh, it was awesome. Everybody got to see how well I actually played too. And the coaches were just like, I remember seeing it. Like, I remember my, my one coach called me Joe DiMaggio because he was like, I don't care if you're not fast, you dive for every single ball and somehow you catch it. And so that was my nickname from him. But it just felt so good. It felt so good to be recognized for how much effort I actually put into something that wasn't even going to be my end all be all. Like, I just enjoyed the sport and I enjoyed doing it well. And it just felt good from not being recognized at all to being recognized by the players and the coaches out on that team and the parents. Like, it was just awesome. It was an awesome experience.
Yeah, it really was. And I think that just, that kind of wraps up your senior year. And, let's fast forward and kind of end, on the Northampton Hawks experience. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I bring that up is because I'll tell you a funny story. So Taylor mentioned Coach Frank. So Coach Frank, who is the father of Mackenzie, who was on this podcast about, go look at it. It was last year in season 1, who was our pitcher for Northampton, played for Council Rock, grew up through Northampton. Her dad, Frank, as the coach, and she was fantastic. She's a fantastic real estate agent right now for Rock House Real Estate. And I was a very adamant coach, right? Taylor knows this. And everybody knows this from knowing me from a radio personality and stuff like that. But I didn't have a nickname Jigsaw back then, but it probably would have fit. I got in a lot of arguments and a lot of back and forth. And Coach Frank was the third. Games. Right, thrown out of games. Taylor knows. I mean, listen, I don't condone it. I look back at it now. I was just a very passionate coach. I cared a lot about my kids, not just Taylor, all my kids. And I hated that they would get cheated out of moments because of bad calls, stuff like that, all the work they put in. Well, Frank was the third base coach for the Northampton Hawks at that time. And Frank when Taylor played for Southampton, Warminster, wherever, he would always be talking to Taylor. And Taylor, just let's for straight up full transparency. When you would come in the dugout, what would I say to you?
I don't know how much I can say, but I want you talking to that asshole. Like, he said, he's like, don't ignore him. And I was like, but he's being nice. Like, he's not. He's like, I don't care. You're not talking to him. And he was just everything he said to me was just commending me on how I played. So it wasn't even like he wasn't even trying to like be rude. Because I mean, I've versed other teams where they knew I lunged at the ball, and those coaches would purposely have the girls like lob pitch the ball because they knew I would chase it, and they did it on purpose to have the team make fun of me. And like, he didn't do that. All he did was commend me for how well I played. So I just was always confused. Like, oh, why we hate this guy? Like, why we hate the team? Like, I don't understand. And I started playing for them, and then
That was well,
yeah,
that was the competitive spirit, right?
yeah,
Because for me, I'm thinking this guy's trying to get her all for game. This guy's getting
yeah,
her. Let's be sentimental. Like that's how I was crazy, man. I was nuts. I'm not gonna I am not gonna discount it. I was a crazy individual. I was, and that's why people. But I admitted as much, right? So let's fast forward because Taylor is where do I go from here? The Warminster team that she was playing for at that time. Listen, they were going to age out. It was
yeah,
what do we do? I still want to play a couple years. Even for my senior year, I want to play. I don't want to play in college, but I still want to play. Like, what opportunity do I have? So I break down and I send an email to Frank, and he tells a story to this day. He's going to be on this show, which I can't wait. About he looked at it, was like, is this serious? Like, he couldn't believe that me, of all people, was sending him an email about asking if there was a spot for Taylor on his team. And we couldn't have picked a better way to wrap up your playing career, right? I mean, that experience, he basically took you in. And at that time, he had Mackenzie, which was his daughter, but he was missing that fiery bulldog captain that he wanted. He basically gave that opportunity to you.
yeah.
And how did that feel?
It was awesome. I mean, that was like the best time of my life playing for that team.
As a catcher.
Yeah, as a catcher.
He had you specific. I mean,
only as a catcher. If anything, yes. I had to play third. Push come to shove when we didn't have our third baseman in, but because we had backup catchers, but we didn't really have backup third baseman. We had one person, and she wasn't there. It was me, but it was just awesome. And he knew I was the difference of everybody. Like, we had our team couldn't have been more split now. Like, and it's no shot to anybody. We're all just different. Like, when it came to like Livy and Holland and Jill and Kayla, like, you knew that they were their own little group. And then like you had Gabby and Mackenzie and Devin and Kayla and all them, and it's like, that they're their group too. But the best part about it is we were different groups, but nobody treated anybody any different, especially in school. I mean, like, I would hear them talk about it all the time that they didn't care if they were in different cliques or whatever. They would talk all the time in school. Now, granted, me and Kayla were the only two that went to a different school. Everybody else had gone to CR South, so that was we didn't ever really see them unless we had to play them in high school. But it was just cool because it was like, I love Ken to death, but man, she really came off as that like bratty kid. Because I would play her when I was on Warminster, and I would always think the Northampton girls were so snotty, and then I got to meet them, and they were like some of the nicest, coolest people I've ever met.
She was listen, I agree with Taylor, right? And I tell Kenzie this, and Kenzie laughs, and I call her my beast, because I didn't like, she would pitch to her arm fell off. Like, I did not expect that out of her, right? I did not. And what you, man, that experience, just for me, like, not only did they welcome in Taylor, but they welcomed in me, and they just didn't welcome him. They gave me a really definitive role, on that team. Like, Frank was like, listen, man, I want you to be my first base coach. I was taking mound visits. I was helping train. I was running practices. But just to, everything that we talked about, everything leading up to this point, I think it was so, I want to say something easy. It's just so needed. This is the way you need to close out your playing career. And I want to talk about, number one, listen, we go to the World Series in Maryland, right? I mean, that was our first experience.
Yeah, it was fun.
All the memories we made. Yeah. How about talk about, and I have videos of this. Talk about the time when we were in Maryland, and it was torrential downpours. And listen, they can't cancel games, so we had to sit for like 4 hours, wait for them to get the fuel ready. What happened during that, of all those teams that were different nationalities, different organizations, different geographical locations? What happened?
Oh, I remember it was probably like 4 or 5 teams. We were all sitting there, and we just I forget, somebody had some kind of speaker or something like that, and they just started playing all these songs. We all just started dance battling in the middle of the of the field. It was awesome. It was like, we were all cracking up, laughing. I think at the time I still knew how to do like my cheerleading stuff. So I did like a back handspring. There was girls on the other team doing it too. And it was just so funny. It was just so fun. Like we didn't care. Like it was just whatever. We're here to play and we're here to have fun, and we don't really care what happens after that.
It was such a great, like, unstripped moment where everybody could just take off the uniform for a second, and just be a kid.
Yeah.
And it showed that kids want to be kids.
Mhm.
And you guys were all smiling and having such a great time and doing different line dances, and you were getting soaked. It was
Yeah.
nobody cared. It
Right.
was all like, you know what? We're just here. We're having fun. It was a great, great experience. And I commend Coach Frank for giving us that experience because
Yeah.
you had a lot. Now, one last moment I'll talk about, and I want to get how you felt about it. And then I want you to kind of speak to the camera and speak to the youth athletes, because we're gonna have part 2 of this, because I want to talk about, so we didn't even talk about the cheerleading aspect. Taylor was a cheerleader for many years, and she was gripped with the decision about what do I go all in with? Do I go all in with cheerleading or softball? And that's going to be part 2, because I think a lot of people are facing that right now too. But Taylor, the defining moment, Coach Rich, who again, right, that Southampton, Horsham, then he starts the Revolution team. And you had a decision. He wanted you.
He did.
He came to me. You were playing for Hawks. And I'm going to commend Taylor on this. And I did not involve myself in the decision. I said, Taylor,
it was completely up to me.
It was right. I said, here's the deal. Coach Rich wants you. He's starting a new travel club. It's going to be called Centennial Revolution, which I think they're still at it now, but he's not coaching. And it was taking all the kids again, just like the Northampton Hawks. And he came to me and he wanted you. And what was your decision?
I wanted to stay with the Hawks. Not anything against him. There was just some girls on there I didn't really respect or wanted to play with, and I had made such a connection with this team, and they had taken me when everything else was kind of going to crap, and I didn't want to play in high school and everything like that. And I just knew if I went on the other team, it was going to be, I was reliving it, and I would have to hear about Tennant, and I would have to hear about everything else. And I didn't want to deal with that. I respected the girls that I played with. I respected my coach. So I decided to stay with the Hawks.
And do you regret that decision?
No.
And let's talk about one moment specifically where Taylor decides, and I thought she made a great decision, and I was happy about it. And listen, Coach Rich respected it. He understood. I was straight up with Coach Frank and told him what was going on, right?
Yep.
And he was happy. And then we go to a tournament one weekend. And who do we draw the first game? The Centennial Revolution. Yep. And I said to Taylor, now remember, Taylor, consummate catcher at that time. I said, Taylor, that is your mentor over there, but he's going to test you. The first chance he gets, he's going to run on you to see what you got. Yep. And Taylor, what happened?
So I think Kenzie was pitching that game.
Yep.
And she, which never happens, but she walked Kate. And Kate's fastest girl on their team. She's a leadoff hitter. She can switch hit and she can slap. So she walked her. She got to first base. And just immediately in my head, I'm like, I know he's going to have Kate run on me. And it's going to be on like not a strike, because he knows I can throw people out. It's going to be on like a ball in the dirt. Ken's at the time was working on her drop curve, I'm pretty sure. And I had her throw it. It got right. It threw right into the dirt. Now, if I let a ball pass me, that was a rare occurrence. Like, I did not care if I got hurt. I would stop that ball by any means necessary. And I remember I was on the ground, I stopped it, and I was on my knees, and he had Kate run. Remember, he was the one who put me in the batting cage and would have these balls thrown at like 70 miles an hour to teach me how to stop. And he taught me how to throw for my knees for like hours. He would take me, even if my dad wasn't there, he would take me to the field and have Kate stand at second base, and I'd have to throw her over and over and over again. And I stopped the ball and I threw her out by like 5 feet from my knees. And it was just, my whole team was electric after that. I remember Devin, I think, was jumping up and down on the second base. She was so happy. And my coach, former coach, Coach Rich, looks at me and just winks and points to me, and
he was like proud.
Yep. Think about that. It'll get me choked up, but because I'm really good friends with Rich. And it was like, there's a guy who's competitive as hell, who's watching a former player not only throw out his fastest player, but his own daughter in a competitive environment.
Yeah.
And he didn't care. He was so happy because he knew that she could do it. And he even gave me that look, right? And it's emotional for me too, because we've been through a lot. And that was a great moment. That was a really, really good moment to wrap up everything that dealt with and everything, how hard you worked and things of that nature. And unfortunately, Taylor, your career ended a little too short, right?
Yeah.
Your last season, we went to a tournament. You were actually being scouted at that tournament at that time by one of the I think it was the Bulldogs or whoever it was, and wanted to know who the catcher was. And it was a bang play home plate, because you played with reckless abandon, and the girl was stealing home, and you dove, you got her out, but you got a concussion. You smashed heads, and it was kind of like on the back end of the season.
Yeah.
And that was kind of it, right? That's kind of where it ended. So let's wrap, because this has been fantastic. Again, this is my daughter, Taylor, who played for a number of years, who I coach, and she's going through a lot of things. And hopefully this interview, part one, will help, because we're going to have a part two. I promise. We're going to come back and at another time and speak on her cheerleading experience and the decisions that she had to make, and some of the things she dealt with from a mental health perspective from that. But if you had to talk to a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, and they're wrestling with any kind of decision, or they're on the bench wondering, is this the right environment for me? Or wonder, what should I do? Just anything, any words of wisdom you give that youth athlete right now who is listening to this program about somebody who came up through the system, went through many different organizations, different schools, bad, good memories, what will you say to them?
I think I'd say if they're feeling like that, if they're feeling confused and they're wondering why they're even in that position, it's not the position that you should be in. You shouldn't have to feel like that, and you should do whatever you can to be comfortable, because let's face it, I mean, how many people do you hear from Warminster that are going D1 and turning into a professional athlete? Just do it. Makes you happy. Do it. It's fun. Make friends along the way, and hopefully you don't have the same experience I did and have to deal with all that crap of getting your friends torn from you. But I would say if you feel uncomfortable, it's just not for you, and you got to find your own way. Because I did, and I don't regret finding my team that I got to play for, because I have friendships that'll last a lifetime, and people that feel like second parents to me for a long time.
Friendships for a lifetime. So let's end on that and think about it. Friendships for a lifetime, because you decided to go play for organizations where, you want to be a little competitive, but you also want to be able to be a kid. And you made those decisions. And, that's another thing that everybody just remember. I say this all the time as we leave. It's memories and moments. It's not about the wins. It's not about the losses. It's memories and moments. And we'll continue to have more memories and more moments as you come up. For Coach Tony, for my daughter Taylor, did a wonderful job. I'm going to give her a great clap, because it wasn't easy. Everybody make sure you're following the Fighting for Overtime podcast, wherever you get your podcast from. Also at Fighting for Overtime on all social formats. Taylor, thank you very much. This was fantastic. Are you going to be up for part two?
Yeah, I could do part two. Hopefully I don't cry as much, but
that's all right. This was an experience, which is great. I can't wait for experience number two. So again, make sure you're following Fighting for Overtime. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Fighting for Overtime is a Rise and React media production. If you're looking to start a podcast, if you're looking to get some direction, hit us up, let us know. We'll help you out there as well. Again, for everybody, enjoy your time, memories and moments, and keep fighting that fight. Continue to fight in overtime to make your kid have the best experience that they can have when it comes to playing youth sports.